Welcome everybody. I'm Andrew. I'm the osteopath at the Thrive Body Clinic based in the Worthing Leisure Centre, and this is Coffee in Clinic. I've just popped round to the Velo Cafe, got myself a coffee and a croissant for lunch when I finish this. This is kind of a weekly dose of my thoughts from the clinic room. I'm looking each week to do reflections on what I've seen, hopefully a little bit of a news roundup for what's going on in the UK, maybe wider, around about osteopathy and health, maybe a stretch, but generally just a bit of a chat whilst I have a cup of coffee. So, let's have a brew, and let's start. Last week was quite a busy week. Like most osteopaths, I see a lot of low back pain, and quite a bit of that last week was down to exercise. I think not necessarily exercising in the wrong way, more too much exercise, and just overloading already tired muscles. Possibly a little bit of poor form thrown in, but mostly just excessive amounts. And I think a lot of that's down to enthusiasm from the weather being so great at the moment. It's just too easy. Thank you. Plus a little bit of mid-back pain. I think everybody I saw suffering with pain just at the back there was largely work-related. It is very difficult not to get locked into particular posture when you've got a job, especially anything that involves your arms being up and out. So some of it's treatment, some of it is just education around how to avoid that. Lots of mitigation stuff really. What was that? And then as a break from the norm, a little foot and ankle pain, which I think was a perineal issue. Again, that was a little bit of over-exercise, but resolving that has been a break from looking at low backs, and some shoulder issues, which is a weekly occurrence, I think. Again, that is very much a lot of overuse. Sometimes it's over-enthusiasm for doing stuff, and some of it is, again, work-related, where you're doing the same things, same movement patterns over and over again, and just at some point the body goes, we need to take a break. Let's just calm things down for a moment, usually by not calming down. So that was a whistle-stop tour, really. It's a common problems, I guess. If it sounds like it's going to be hoofbeats, it's probably going to be a horse, not a zebra. Very much rings true. But what's great about these things is that with a bit of guidance and a little bit of treatment, we're all straightforward to deal with. And honestly, switching getting people's hopes back up is always an absolute pleasure. So they come in pain, maybe feeling their age because of it, and actually we do a bit of treatment, a bit of talking around it, come up with some sort of activities to do for homework, and they go out in a much more positive frame of mind, which is brilliant. I love that. That makes my day. Sorry, a little drink while I pause and collect my thoughts. In amongst all of that, there was a certain amount of arthritis to be looked at, and again, same kind of thing really. People come in and they're in pain and they're feeling like things aren't going to change, things can't get any better. And actually, again, we do a little bit of treatment, we do a bit of talking, we come up with some homework, some sort of action plan going forwards, and they go out in a much more positive fashion. Makes my day, hopefully makes their day too. And that is pretty much everything I saw last week. I could imagine that this what I saw in clinic slot could well be quite samey going forwards. So I'm going to do it anyway, and we'll see what comes out of it. I might ask a few patients if they would mind me talking about their things in a bit more detail, and see if we could extend it that way, or dig into something a bit deeper in that way. Or I might, let's take questions. If anybody has something they particularly want to have an idea for, of how they could do something to help themselves, or how I can help them in a bit more detail perhaps, drop a question underneath in the comments, or you can email me at outlook.com, I think. I'll double check and I will leave it in the thing below. Yes, so that is the stuff we saw last week. Just firing up the laptop, which is closed on itself, closed on me, right? So, what was I going to say? Oh yes, I was thinking about news stuff. Obviously, this is the first one. I'm going to fine tune this as we go on. I was thinking about osteopathy news specifically, but honestly there isn't a lot of osteopathy news. Certainly not enough osteopathy news that I think is going to be of interest to you. Some of it's interesting to me, professionally speaking, but perhaps not you. So I've gone a little bit wider, something a bit more relevant, a bit more useful, and yeah, we'll try and come up with a few things. So, we've got three things this week. One is that apparently the Oxford University has identified a specific gene. I'm not going to read out specifics because I'd have to keep looking at the computer to do that, and I don't know that it's particularly relevant. What I might do is put the links to the things that I've come up with underneath, and we'll go from there. Anyway, apparently scientists at Oxford have identified a specific gene related to chronic pain. You might be thinking, what's the use of that? How can you change my genes? I don't think you can, definitely not ethically, but it does mean that it becomes easier to develop treatments that address specific things. And given the number of people living with chronic pain in the UK and the rest of the world, that probably can only be a good thing. I mean, as an osteopath, I'm pretty much obligated to say that the best things you can do for yourself is make sure you're eating a healthy diet, moving, working on your strength, your mobility and your heart. But if it helps, that's a good thing. So